Hey everyone, welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux, and today we're going to be talking about how to bring out detail in weathered objects such as rust, peeling paint, any of those fun things that you'd find at a junkyard or in an antique shop, things like that. This episode is for you if you like photographing those kinds of things. I'm going to walk you through a very simple workflow in Luminar AI that will show you how to bring out all those details without getting an over crunchy result. And that's always the big thing with when you're trying to emphasize detail. Sometimes it's very simple to go too far, and then you end up with that really crunchy result that's just not great to look at. So let me go ahead and switch screens here. Oops, there we go. Hopefully you guys are all seeing my screen here in Luminar. Today we're going to be working with this photo of a pickup truck. And this was actually captured by my friend Vanelli, who also works for Skylum. Hey Sandra, glad you're able to make it today. Let me show you the before image and what I started with. So here's the before, and it's a great image, nice and colorful, but you can see that it lacks some detail, and there's so much gorgeous detail in that peeling paint at the bed of the pickup and on the paint of the cab, and then there's some blocked up shadows there underneath the truck. So this is what I came up with. I think it really does the subject justice. It brings out all of that gorgeous detail in the paint and in the peeling paint on the bed of the truck without getting overly crunchy. Let me go ahead and walk you through how I do it. Hey Big Mac, welcome. Glad you're able to join us today. All right, let me go pop over here to the edit module real quick, and I'm going to go to my history, go scroll all the way down to the bottom and click original so you can see everything I do. We'll start with templates, and the first thing I typically do is go to the For This Photo section and look through and see if anything calls me, and then poke through a few of those different templates to see what I like. In this instance, I went down here to the macro section, and even though this isn't a macro shot, this will show you the flexibility of some of these templates in that it's not just for macro photography. Specifically, I'm going to go into this objects section, and I'm going to choose razor. And you can see just with that one click, that brought out a ton of detail and got us a lot closer to where we want to be. So let me go ahead and turn that off and turn that back on again. If you were in a hurry, you could have this template applied and be done. If you think it's a little bit over the top, you can always go down here to this slider at the bottom and pull back on the overall effect to the point at which it matches your taste. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and leave that all the way up at 100, and we'll do a few extra edits. I'm going to go into the Edit tab and then go back up here to Essentials, and we'll start by refining our crop a little bit. I'll go into Composition AI, and let's go ahead and see what the AI suggests for us. I'll hit that Composition AI button, and that goes ahead and crops it in, and we see that it cropped off the end of the back of the truck, and it brought it up to where we cropped off the bottom here of a wheel. I'm not really fond of what it did, so instead I'm going to go ahead and click Reset here, and in looking at my image, it does feel like it's a little off kilter, so I'm going to go ahead and click that perspective correction, and that should straighten it up a little bit. Let's let that go ahead and load. I'm hoping it'll straighten up this piece right here, this bracket. It looks like it's not quite seeing that, so in that instance, I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse just off my canvas and then rotate just to straighten up the lines of that gate. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I want to fix the ratio. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and go with a 5:7 because I want to take off some of this space on the end, but the top and bottom, I like where we're at. We have a little bit of breathing room here at the top of the gate. We have just enough breathing room by this tire, and I can go ahead and move this over so we're not clipping off the back of the truck, but we get rid of that, a little bit of that car back there, and then we take off some of this negative space over here on the right. I'll go ahead and hit return on my keyboard, and there we go. That's a much nicer crop for us to go ahead and work with. So the next thing I want to do to refine this is let's go over to our Enhance AI, and let's pull up that Accent AI a bit. And what this is doing, you can see it's just waking up some of the detail here in the shadows. And we can pull that up a little bit more. And that looks really, really good. Next, let's start playing with some detail. We're going to do that here with Structure AI and with details. We'll start with Structure AI, and you can see that some was already added from our template. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more because I love structure. And especially on a subject like this where it's already rough and weathered, that just makes it come alive even that much more. We might even add a little bit of boost, but as I do that, you see that we start getting that crunchy effect. So I'm going to go ahead and actually pull that back down and stick with just our structure. Might even back that off a tiny bit. The key here is to not go overboard. However, if you do at the end, you can always pull back on this slider here at the bottom, which is for your overall adjustments. Any adjustments you've made, including your template, can be pulled back with that slider there at the bottom right. All right, next, let's go ahead and go to our details panel. We can see that small details were added, some large, or some medium, and no large. Now, the small details is where things tend to get a little bit crunchy. So I'm actually gonna pull that back almost off, not quite. I don't wanna get rid of all of it. I'm gonna move up that medium details, maybe a tiny bit more, and then bring up some of our large details. And I think that looks really, really nice. Now, finally, in looking at this image, the one thing that is kind of bothering me is how bright the ground is here in this bottom left corner. In composition, your eye it tends to go to the brightest part of an image, and typically you want that to be your subject. If this is the brightest part down here, that's where the eye is going, and you don't want that to be where your viewer's eye goes. So I'm going to tone that down a little bit over here in our Pro section using Dodge and Burn. I'll go ahead and check the Darken tab. Hey Pat, good to see you. And I'm going to go ahead and make my brush size a little bit bigger here, maybe right about there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just brush this in gently here over the foreground. And you'll see right now it looks kind of gross. It kind of changed the color tones. It's too dark. It doesn't blend. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and grab this overall amount and pull that back to a point where it blends, but it's not so bright. So let's go ahead and turn that off and turn that back on again. And I think that looks so much better. So let's take a look at where we've come. We've got our before. Come on up. Let me go ahead and close out of Dodge and Burn. There's our before. You can see it's a great picture, nice color, but lacking a little bit of detail on those weathered edges. And here's what we've come up with. Now, if you like this, but you feel like it's a little bit over the top, maybe the colors are a little too punchy, maybe the detail is a little too strong for you. Remember, you can always go down to this overall amount slider down here at the bottom and pull that back a little bit until you're happy with it. So that's the edit for today. We took and made the details really come alive on an old weathered object. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Before we close out for today, I just want to remind you that here in the US, this week is the Thanksgiving holiday. So Vanelli and I will be taking Thursday and Friday off. We'll both be with you tomorrow to do an early week recap. So we'll talk a little bit more about this image and what Vanelli did yesterday. And we'll see you one more time before we take off the rest of the week. And then of course we'll return next Monday. So with that, I want to wish you guys a great afternoon. I hope you get out there, make some pictures, have some fun, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.